Today's video, we're going to be checking out the Bandai Pacific Rim Uprising Side Jaeger Titan Redeemer. The Titan Redeemer was built for brute force and armed with a seismic Morning Star. Titan Redeemer is the walking wrecking ball of the new fleet. I suppose before we do anything, let's figure out how tall Titan Redeemer stands. Not a very tall Jaeger, about 6¼ inches. Like with its size, the accessories are small. You like how I segued that? For example, comes included with the Scrapper Jaeger minifigure. From what I can see, there's no posability. I thought initially there might have been an arm articulation, but it doesn't seem like it wants to be very forthcoming with that articulation. So I'm thinking it may be ripping the joint if I actually are rotating it. The legs I can clearly see are not posable. So I would go ahead and I would be on record of saying it probably is not a posable figure. So I'm not going to gamble ripping the arm off trying to turn it when perhaps posability wasn't there to start off with. The paint on this is missing. There's no paint on it whatsoever. Instead, it's been cast in a metallic gunmetal gray, which apparently is something I use a lot in these reviews. But a lot of people like gunmetal gray, I being one of them. A really nice small representation of, well, the mini Scrapper Jaeger. Whatever it's lacking in posability, it makes up for it in really cool little details. And it's nice that you get a little side accessory. The other accessory is only really just a hand. Give him a hand. Is one flat, relaxed palm. It also probably tells you exactly which hand it has to be sported in. As thumbsies go in, it would obviously be this hand, and not the hand that comes with the very large and impressive Morning Star. Of the things that could be fragile on this, I suppose some of it could be said for its seismic Morning Star, making up of these small little blades and spinning sections of its star. I can imagine some of these would be a little more on the fragile side, especially these longer ones. So be mindful of that. You don't accidentally want to break that. Unfortunately, the trade-off for having such a cool looking weapon is that I find the one arm here, specifically the one with the Morning Star, is loose. And that's a shame that the Titan Redeemer would be loose in the arm there. If you bend the arm and get it up on a hinge, you can see it drops down immediately. Now that may not be everyone's figure, so take my opinions with a grain of salt, but I did notice getting it out of packaging, and I've done very little to it, that it does get very loose right out from the gate, which is sad. It does have rotationing happening here. I mean, they actually advertise this in the package, the actual instructions, that it does spin. It really only spins by the nature of the fact it plugs in just by a peg. That's really all that's benefiting the spinning action. But they feel the need to include that, so I feel the need to include that in this review as well. The coloring on it is very nice. Very muted in the way that it's using almost a dark forest green metallic. But it's a nice contrast to the otherwise bright blue nature of the Gypsy Avenger that we've already had a look at. You can also immediately see how much taller the Avenger is versus the Redeemer here. A little bit smaller, a little squatter of a Jaeger. But again, I like the elements of that, and I like that Pacific Rim, both the original and the sequel, play off to the fact that different teams designing these Jaegers would, of course, produce very distinctly different designs. The articulation on these are roughly the same as well, so we won't spend a lot of time comparing it to the Gypsy Avenger, which we've already looked at in a whole entire review. Not much, again, to be said for the coloring. If you like dark green and you like gunmetal gray, this gives you all of that and a bag of chips. The bag of chips, by the way, only is the bright yellow that makes up the panel lining here on the shoulders, as well as the front areas and the visor area, if you will, of the helmet. But it doesn't really have a whole lot of popped color. I guess to its testament, that by making use of the orange or the yellow up at the top here, that yellow does pop considerably well against the backdrop of very dark colors. The detailing on it is immaculate, which is one of the things that, to the credit of Bandai, they always do really immaculately super detailed collectibles. And I feel here that Titan Redeemer is no different. Posability on the Titan Redeemer, its head is very generously capable of rotating all the way around. By the nature of the fact that the neck is as thin and as long as it is, does allow a lot of clearance for rotating that head around, which I do like a lot. The arms hinge outwards, not restricted at all by these giant shoulder pads. The arms move forward and back. This is kind of where they get a little bit more of a stopped nature, because the shoulder pads, the top areas of its torso, drop down as much as they do. It does limit forward motion. But I mean, again, how far forward would you really need to bring these arms anyways, considering for the fact that the arms, unfortunately, are loose because it's got the Morning Star at the bottom there. So you've got a double hinge happening in the elbow. There's one hinge there, and there's one hinge right there. There's one and there's one. But it doesn't give you much clearance. And again, you run the risk of the weight of the ball just dropping the arm straight down. Upper torso ball joints, nothing in the lower waist. Legs split out, forward and back. A double bend, let me explain that further. A double bend on the knee, so you got a hinge there and a hinge down below. This all would work very well if only you had like an actual stand to display this on. But like the Gypsy Avenger, there's a little connector point on the back here, which is kind of a little harder to get to. Gonna have to get your fingers in there. Long fingernails would certainly help, but that would also equal a very gross looking review if you had to look at my long nails all the time. We pull the little tab portion out, and it's compatible with the Tamashii stand. So if you have one of those kicking around, which sadly I don't, you could plug that into place and it would give him something that you could stand the Titan Redeemer on. Just plug that back into place. Again, the knees have double hinge happening on the knees, and the feet are considerably flexible. You can not only get a nice ankle pivot happening, but a hinge back and forth. Even though it doesn't have peg holes on the undersides of the feet, because the feet are big, clunky, kind of like hard to describe, just like a giant cross shape, it does give enough footing that it has a better way of standing, say for example, than the Gypsy Avenger, which we've already had a look at. By comparing the two, this one stands a lot better. It's unfortunate though that the trade-off for that is a rather loose arm because of the Morning Star on his attached arm here. Though Titan Redeemer doesn't have as much colors to its palette that the Gypsy Avenger has, I think it's got some nice design elements to it. The Morning Star is a nice touch, although that same Morning Star can be havoc on the hinges of the elbow, specifically the one elbow with it being attached to. It doesn't really stay in place. In fact, I'm even surprised it's staying in place currently as it is now. So it's a little loose, and let me know if you've picked this figure up for yourself, if you've had the same problem with the one arm that's attached to the Morning Star. I do really like the design elements of this, and with Bandai's super articulation to a lot of these figures, I think you can do a little bit more to them than what you could with the Diamond Select releases. It also benefits the Bandai pickups, because Diamond Select, at the time that you're watching this review, I don't think has yet released a Titan Redeemer. So the best way to get it is by picking up the Pacific Rim Uprising release here from the folks over at Bandai. A nice overall release. I like this one a lot. The price point on these will set you back about $30 to $34. I think I found these at Toys R Us for about $34, and that is Canadian prices. US prices may differ slightly. I think you guys usually have it a little bit cheaper than here in Canada, but that's just the price point. That's the benchmark that is set by Canadian prices, which is sad at times. That makes me cry. Today, though, nonetheless, we were having a look at the Bandai. This was the Bandai Pacific Rim Side Jaeger Titan Redeemer. If you guys haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button down below, make sure you do so. And one of the other things, too, that I'm going to try to start promoting on this channel a little bit more is when you're finished with these reviews, the ones that you're currently watching, do me a favor and head over to my main page. Go to the section where it says videos and scroll down and see if there's any videos that you may have missed. I know a lot of video content creators are pushing the idea of hitting that little bell notification, but I've also heard from a lot of you guys, the ones that are hitting the bell notification still don't know of some of the videos that I'm posting. Somehow they still get lost. So the best way that I can say to prevent that from happening is at the end of every one of these videos that you guys watch, head over to my main page and just check out the video section. See if there's something that you may have missed, and feel free to check those videos out and comment in them accordingly. I always like to read new comments in older videos, and sometimes even older videos by like a couple of days. Sadly gets missed by you guys, which again makes me sad. There's a lot of sad things happening in this video. I'm going to try to cheer myself up. I'm going to go make myself a grilled cheese sandwich. Definitely more videos, guys, will be coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.